Hello, I'm talking to you right now from my new home in Southern California, and I want to take a minute today to talk about creating a body of work. It's something that is very important for any artist who wants to sell their work. People want you to have a distinctive style that sets you apart from other artists. That's pretty simple to understand in theory, but doing it is more difficult. It took me a long time to figure this out because as an artist there are so many things that you want to do. You know, when you're first learning, you want to develop your skills. You want to try painting different things if you're a painter, and you want to try different mediums. And all of that is stuff that you should do when you're learning. But at some point you have to focus and decide what you want to really be known for and what you want to spend all your energy and time on. Now, that's not to say that you have to paint the same thing forever for the rest of your life, but you should try to work in series. You can look at it as a form of serial monogamy if you have a love relationship with your work. Try and focus on one facet of your work at a time for, a month, a year, however long you need to play out that relationship, and then you can move on if you choose. So when you choose the thing that you're going to do, it's not forever. It's just for now. That can help you let go of some of that feeling of permanence when you decide to do that. The secret to creating a good body of work is to set very specific constraints on yourself and then follow them. Stick within the limits of what you decided to do. You might think that having limits placed on yourself is going to stifle your creativity, but the opposite is actually true. Because of the way that our minds work, we try to find the simplest and easiest solution to any problem. So, when your options are infinite, you tend to jump to the most obvious solution, which tends to be cliche. It tends to be the thing that most people would think of first. When you take away options, you're forced to become more creative by working within the constraints that you've put on yourself. So here are some examples of constraints that you should put on yourself if you're trying to create a consistent body of work. The first one is style. You need to choose whether you're going to work in an abstract style, a realistic style, an impressionistic style, and you don't have to choose something that has even been done before. Your goal is to develop your own style, and to find out what that is, you have to first do some work and some experimenting and find something that you like, that you can reproduce, and then you work towards getting better at that thing. Your subject matter. It should be something that is very specific, but at the same time something that you can draw from infinitely. So you always have reference material at hand. So a good place to start with would be something from nature. That's why I choose to work with nature themes, because there's always more to draw from. You should choose one medium or set of media that you're going to work with. I choose water mixable oil paints on canvas, and sometimes I also paint on wood. And you can experiment with different things and choose whichever one calls out to you that you feel like you want to explore. A color palette is a good thing to decide on. You don't have to be very super strict about it, but I know that I'm not. But some people choose to work with, only 3 or 4 tubes of paint. And that very severe type of restriction is a really great way to discover how creative you can actually be. And then if you really want to limit yourself even more, you could limit yourself by the size and shape of the pieces that you're going to make. Like, you could choose to only work on 10-inch by 10-inch squares, and that would be one way of making your work consistent. Even if other elements of the work are not as consistent, it will still show together as a good body of work. Above all else, you want to make sure that whatever you decide on is something that not only piques your interest but can sustain your interest, because here's the real secret to this is you have to stick with it long enough to have a good series of work. Now, depending on how fast you work, it may not take you that long to come up with a series, or it could take you years. That's not really the point. But what you want is to follow that series of work to completion, and you have to have the discipline to stick with that. And it's a lot easier to have that discipline if it's something that really interests you and makes you excited and you want to explore it further. Having a hard time deciding on what to paint? Really, you just need to choose something. Choose the thing that most interests you at this moment and go with it. And maybe start with a mini series. Say, I'm going to make 10 pieces of work with this theme, these colors, this medium, in this style, in this size, and then make 10 pieces. And then if you want to continue at that point, you can. Or if you want to call it quits, you can. You don't have to commit to something huge at first. But making a small commitment is a good place to start learning the skill of committing to one series and committing to spending your time and energy working towards that one goal. You really have to be razor sharp in your focus. And if you can stick with one thing for long enough, I've found that you will get somewhere with it. You might not get somewhere good. Not everything is going to be gold. Some things will be dead ends. But some things will be gold. Sometimes you strike gold, and you'll know it when you do because you're passionate about it and you can't stop thinking about it and you just want to go paint some more. So that good place is where you want to be. You want to be in the zone. So you don't have to believe that this works. I just urge you to try it. You've got nothing to lose, and you might be surprised at how quickly you see results and how quickly you see your personal style coming together if you set these limits on yourself and just set out with the determination to create a body of work.